The first coronavirus vaccine shots were given this week, of course. That's the Pfizer-BioNTech version. The Moderna version might be on the cusp of being approved for emergency use as well. Our Anjalee Khemlani is here. She just spoke to the Surgeon General, Jerome Adams, about the latest with the vaccine. Interesting, Anjalee, we heard from Governor Ned Lamont of Connecticut at the top of the show, who said he thinks the federal government is handling the vaccine distribution much better than they handled things at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, Julie, that seems to be a general consensus. There's been a lot of focus and a lot of effort. And early on, you actually heard some of those criticisms that the vaccine effort was getting way more attention than all the other parts of the response for the U.S. government. But to your point, yeah, the U.S. Surgeon General, we sat down and talked about a range of topics, starting with a new poll that came out from the Kaiser Foundation that said that 71% of Americans are willing to take the vaccine. Now that we know what the data is and now that there's been more information out there about these vaccines, there seems to be more willingness to uptake. In addition, the idea of whether or not employers can mandate a vaccine, while guidance currently says that they can, the Surgeon General advised against it. Let's listen to what he had to say.
The work is not done, but people should be excited. They should be optimistic. In the first surge, it was really about flattening the curve so that we didn't overwhelm our healthcare system. The second curve was about getting through the summer and really trying to save lives. This third surge, we now have a finish line in sight, and it's about running through to the tape. If you're getting to the end of a marathon and you can see the finish line, then it should give you the courage, the strength, the fortitude to keep on going. And I want people to know it's going to be a really hard next 3, 4, 5 weeks, because we've had record cases and those are going to continue to turn into hospitalizations and deaths. But that we have a finish line in sight, and we need to keep washing our hands, wearing masks, watching distances, and particularly during the holiday season, keeping gatherings small and smart, meaning within the people of your household, with the knowledge that once those loved ones can get a vaccine, we can have huge gatherings next year, and you better invite me.
Definitely. And looking at that, we know that, with the timeline, there's still so much more time before the average American gets to have a vaccine. Of course, that's because of the prioritization that the CDC has determined. But looking at it from that perspective, it still leaves a lot of time for people to continue to wonder, to maybe lose interest. So there's a lot of conversation, right, around the anti-vax individuals and messaging, as well as people looking up terms such as Bell's palsy and autism and the side effects of this vaccine. What's your message on that?
Well, my message is that it's okay to have questions. It's not okay. It is absolutely not okay to let misinformation and to let people spreading misinformation rule your life and cause you to make bad choices. You brought up some specific things, and I usually try to avoid lifting up myths, but I do want people to know it has been unequivocally proven that vaccines do not cause autism. When you hear about Bell's palsy, the incidence of Bell's palsy in the vaccinated group in the UK was the same as the incidence in the regular public. So it's not like this vaccine has any indication that it's going to cause any safety problems for anyone except for people who have a history of severe allergic reactions. And that's the case for any vaccine. If you have a severe allergic reaction, talk to your healthcare professional. One thing you can do right now is go to vaccines.gov or cdc.gov, and there are frequently asked questions on those sites about all sorts of vaccines. And you can also get your flu shot. Incredibly important right now when you're waiting for the COVID vaccine, to get your flu shot this year, because you don't want to be taking up a bed that could be used to keep a COVID patient alive through next year. And that's a great opportunity to ask your provider, your doctor, your nurse, your pharmacist about vaccines and the COVID vaccine.
Absolutely. And talking about getting those shots, we know that companies have frequently been involved in flu vaccinations every year, making sure their employees get it. But with the COVID vaccine, there seems to be controversy over whether or not companies can mandate a vaccine before an employee returns to work. Do you have guidance on that?
Right now, we are not recommending that anyone mandate a vaccine. This vaccine hasn't been fully approved yet. It's been authorized, and that means that scientists, the FDA, and independent scientists feel that the benefit far outweighs the risk. What's interesting is you talked about vaccine confidence. One of the challenges is that vaccines are victims of their own success. Very few of your viewers know anyone who's ever been hospitalized for measles. They probably almost none of your viewers know someone who's been on a ventilator because they had polio and needed to be in what was called an iron lung. And so people don't see the benefits of vaccines. They only hear about the potential downsides. Well, guess what? This COVID vaccine is going to have clear benefits for people. And that's why you're hearing 70, 80% of people are saying they're interested, because they know it can protect them, protect their families, and help us get back to normal as soon as possible. So please, don't let misinformation and people out there spreading it rule your life. Get the facts yourself. And I think when people do, they're going to be just like me. I'm going to get the vaccine as soon as I am able to, as soon as my priority comes up, because I want to be an example for everyone else out there. I've seen the data. I know these vaccines are safe, and I know that they're 95% effective, which means that they can help us get back to normal.
I'm so glad you brought up taking the vaccine yourself. What is the administration looking at, and especially also the incoming administration, if you've had conversations with them about, handing off sort of this tactic and strategy, about how many influencers or celebrities can be brought in to the fold to take the vaccine publicly and enforce that message, just like you and others in the administration are willing to do?
Well, we aren't going to have vaccines for everybody right away. We're going to have enough to vaccinate 20 million people by December, 50 million people by January, and a total of 100 million people by February. So that's about half of the adult population. But that said, we want to immunize for impact right now. And that means older people, people in nursing homes and long-term care facilities. That's why we've emphasized those groups first. And then healthcare workers, because they're most likely to be exposed. Again, immunize for impact. And so the reason why I explain that is because we want to make sure influencers are getting the vaccine publicly so that it encourages other people to do so. But every person who gets the vaccine who's not in a high-risk group is potentially a person who is in a high-risk group who can't get it. So we are thinking very carefully, very intentionally about the risk-benefit ratio of getting certain people vaccinated out of their turn. And that's something that really deeply matters to me, because if I can encourage people to get vaccinated by getting it myself publicly, I absolutely want to do that. But the last thing I want to do is take a vaccine away from a vulnerable older person in a nursing home who would otherwise die if they didn't get it.
One of the things, and of course for you this also holds true, one of the things that's key is also getting the message out to the minority population. In the vaccine kickoff event at GW on Monday,
we must first acknowledge this real history of mistreatment and exploitation of minorities by the medical community and the government. Then we need to explain and demonstrate all that has been done to address these wrongs.
So glad you brought that up. And that's why I keep saying it's okay to have questions, because there are some real harms that have been done to people of color in the past in the name of science by the government, by medical officials, the Tuskegee experiment, Henrietta Lacks, who got her cells taken without her permission. And so people rightly have some distrust based on what's happened historically.
So as you can hear, just the wide range of topics and that recommendation not to mandate the vaccine. So we'll see how things go as, we see more of the rollout of the vaccine and as we prepare for the general public. Julie?
Yes, most definitely. And a very strong message there, trying to reassure the public about the safety of this vaccine. Thank you so much, Anjalee. Great interview.